out here and watch you.
I think we are live. Okay. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Reformed Gamer Show. I am your host, Gilly. Joined with me today is John or Zyler, Zero or Cody, Adam or Polytrix. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Overwatch. And basically, we're talking about Overwatch because we all played it enough where we feel more comfortable talking about it. Compared to our other episodes, it's a little bit more specific. We think we're going to take the show in that direction, more of a specific series, so we don't ramble much. But all of us have put the amount of time in the game. If you don't know what Overwatch is, it's a class-based shooter made by Blizzard. If you don't know much about it, this video really isn't going to teach you that much. So I don't know why you're watching.
But thanks.
But yeah, thanks. Stick around. Maybe learn something. Maybe probably not. Let's jump right into it. So, Overwatch. I've played Overwatch since the beta. I know John has, Cody has, Adam has, and it is a game filled of high highs and low lows. When you get that amazing 3-piece as Widow, and then go to the next game where you don't get a single kill.
Yikes. You either get the whole hog or you get the road hog.
Basically, something like that. So let's start with roles and different roles in the game. Class-based shooter isn't just, you're not just like, getting your submachine gun and run around killing people. You gotta pick a class and you have to fill a role in the game. There's tanks, healers, DPS. Now there's a few different types of DPS. There's flankers, backline, snipers, regular DPS guys. But let's start with, I think we're going to start with DPS because obviously it's the most important role with the most impact on the game. Now our DPS player here, John. John, tell us why you play DPS and why it's the best role in the game.
So yeah, my favorite role is damage. That's what it's been reclassified as. The heroes used to be, I think it was assault and defend, but now they're just all damage, and it's like most of the bar on the bottom.
Yeah.
So to me, that just kind of feels like the core of the game. It's more shootery, and it's a shooter game. Tanks, you're sitting there holding right click with the shield, or healers, you're sitting there holding left click with a beam of healing, and I don't know, it's not really as shootery to me. So damage feels like the core of the game. You get the exciting big play moments, and if you're on point that game, you're gonna carry the whole game. And I just feel like it's got the highest highs, so it's the most fun.
So with that being said, you're saying that no other role, if you're on point, you can't carry as much as you carry.
I'd say that damage has the highest ceiling for carry potential, but I would say probably tank has like the highest floor or lowest floor, depending on how you want to word it. Like it's probably easiest to relatively carry as a tank. I feel like I can just hop on a tank and sit on the cart and we win most of the time. But I feel like it won't be as hard of a carry, and like if your DPS just isn't killing anyone, it doesn't matter what you do as a tank. The DPS needs to kill people for anything to happen. So if you're on point as damage, I feel like you said earlier, if you're Widow, you get 3 picks, but the rest of the team doesn't matter. You're gonna win no matter what because you just killed 3 of the other team.
Okay. Now, can you defend that, Cody? I know you're the tank player here. What was your thoughts saying that you're
I say it's a load of poppycock, sir. That is, I would say I enjoy playing tanks, and I would say that I don't know if you have like as much carry potential in the sense that I don't know, I'm an old fart, so I can't do the whole tracer back forward crap. that's beyond me now. But whereas with tank, you can have a large impact without having to kind of like you said, like 4-shot widow, be on point like that. I mean, for me personally, I like Roadhog and I like Winston, and you're able to play it like a utility base. Yeah, you're not gonna kill anyone, but with Winston, you have a lot of control with your ult, being able to push people around and force people to get uncomfortable, and you can either put people in your face, or you can kind of pull them in, or push them out. I think playing tank is a lot of fun versus playing damage, just because you're playing around the objective. Whereas with damage, I feel like more I'm like, hunting for the kill.
You're playing around kills.
Exactly. Where, which is like, every role has its purpose. But for me, playing around the objective is like how I like to play games. And I think, is what wins or loses you the game, ultimately, being able to control that effectively as a tank or not.
Okay. Now, Adam, play support in Overwatch?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
And the beauty, kind of the blessing and the curse of Overwatch is that you need all the roles, and it's hard to call any one of them the most important, because if you don't have any of them, you're just gonna fail. You could maybe do without tanks if your DPS is really good, maybe, but it's tough. And
I'd counter that and say you could probably win with only tanks.
What is it?
probably good.
The Death Slam, the Reinhardt Roadhog with just the Lucio combo, the 4 tanks and Lucio.
Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah, but you definitely need the supports, and some of the supports, if you play them right, will do more damage than most of the damage champions will. Like a good Zenyatta will do a ton of healing and a ton of damage. Good Annas as well, and that's just, you gotta have some healing to get pushed through the objectives, overcome the enemy team, keep the people alive to do the damage, stay on the objectives. But the objectives is more important than anything else. More important than the roles is just playing the objectives, and that's
It's all about the win. Overwatch.
Yeah.
That's kind of been like
W.
the mainstay of the game. They tried to, at least I remember in beta, they didn't have like, the stats weren't as fleshed out. So basically, it was just winning. You win or you lose. It's better than one. Doesn't matter what your stats are. Doesn't matter how much damage you did. You win. So I played a lot in the beta. I got to like level 200 in beta, and I just like got burnt out and I stopped playing. But I've came back recently, and I was the carry player because I played every single day, 8 hours a day. I was playing nonstop, going to those like amateur tournaments. But now, come back to the game, and I can't do what I could do 2 years ago. I'm not as good. So I've been playing support, and I realize with Overwatch, really just have to shot call, team lead, and you can play just about any role in the game and still win. But you have to be like a vocal leader, or someone's gonna get mad and start raging. It's gonna bring the whole team down. Insta locking Widow and just shooting at a shield for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's not what you're supposed to do. Yikes.
That's not what you're. Fun fact for silver players, you don't do that. But yeah, so my favorite role as of right now is really support. I mean, I played like Zenyatta and Bridget, like every.
I say Bridget.
But yeah, I think the roles in the Overwatch, there's such a good balance between them that I don't think one stronger than the other. Because it's not like we set this up where one of us plays support, tank, and DPS. That was just that's
Yeah, that's just how it was.
Yeah.
It happens. People play different stuff.
Yeah.
Now, let's kind of switch it up a little bit. Let's go to the maps of Overwatch. And I think the best thing about Overwatch is the map design person. I think that every single map has like a distinct flavor that when you go in, you like feel like alive, kind of. No, you're not looking around like this is kind of weird. This is kind of bad. This looks shitty. There's like little Easter eggs everywhere. There's that Blizzard polish everywhere.
Yep.
So I want to ask the question: what makes a good map for Overwatch? What makes a map fun? What makes a map, like, oh my god, I'm loaded in. I want to be here. What makes that map?
I mean, for me, I'd say, I like to go into a map that has a creative placement or like mindful placement of, opportunities, like whether that's a, kind of like a hidden nook where someone could kind of get in behind a ledge that you can jump up onto, that's reasonable, or, but also making sure you add the flavor of open space, being able to kind of create like those head bashing moments where you just kind of, both teams are blitzing the open space and trying to control it. I think at least for playing the game, right? Like obviously looking at a game, it's nice to have the Easter eggs and those things, but playing it, I think, what makes a good map is just having like areas for large, mindful areas for large combats, as well as, creative spots for like skirmishes or like guerrilla kind of being able to get in behind.
So you want to have maps that enable conflict.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
not maps that enable, I don't know, like a hurdle kind of.
Yeah, well, like if it's just a wide open map, that's not relative. But on the same hand, I don't enjoy games where, you literally are just going through this small little quarter. Like for me, a good map is, I'm failing to think of the name, but it's the map where it ends kind of like in the molten, like kind of like a mining looking thing.
Is that a King's Row?
It might be King's Row, where you end and there's like a quarter on the right and it comes up and goes left, and there's another area, like there's
I'm pretty sure King's Row.
Yeah, and to finish it, you really have to struggle. It kind of pits the defense against the offense up into a point, right? It creates a lot of mobility for the DPS to make big plays, but it, ultimately it also gives the DPS a pretty good spot to kind of post up if you're not ready for them, right?
Yeah, I've realized with Overwatch maps, there's 3 different lanes for people to go down. So defense or offense. Now, John, when you're playing damage and you're probably playing flanker, is that enough? Those corridors? Because I know it's on like every single map. It's like there.
A lot of maps are like that. Yeah. There's. I kind of talked about on some of my notes. I kind of wrote this out like this, and I was going through some of the maps, and it's like they seem to all kind of have like there's the main route, and it's the biggest, and most people go down it. But then there's like a few flanking options, and some spots on some maps it's not enough really. Like what is it, Hanamura, the first gate? Like there's just a huge stalemate right there, and it's a make or break. Either you hold it, or you break through it, and whichever team does that, they like immediately win that point. And I feel like that's kind of bad map design. But then there's other maps, and this seems to be more of the control maps where it's just the neutral point in the middle, where the 2 flanking options seem to be enough because you can just go up the middle, you can have everyone go down the left.
The King of the Hill maps?
Yeah, King of the Hill. Yeah, okay. Those are control. Yeah, and on those maps, it seems to be plenty of options, and it seems to work good. and it just depends on the objective type as well. It seems like the assault maps, which is the cart, I think it is.
Yeah.
Those ones seem to be really, there's a lot of like make or break points, and that can be fun, but it can also be frustrating, and a lot of those make or break points don't really have any flanking options.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the fun part for me though, being a tank is like, at that point you're forced to be utility control, right? Like either as a tank you're able to force control around it or you're not. Like I can imagine as a DPS you're kind of like, well, I can't get in behind anyone. It's hard, you're either up in their shield or,
I know a map that like that is Freeze map. What is it? The Route 50.
Route 66, 56?
Route 66. I think it's
Yeah.
Route 66. That map, that first point when you're pushing the objective, you have a little tunnel on the left, then you have an upstairs tunnel on the left, and then you have like that little way around behind the sign, and that's like it. So that point is usually makes or breaks team. Someone will rage quit in the quick match over there.
Yeah.
But I think with those maps, I don't like that. I don't like that beginning choke being so cluttered. I think not. It's kind of like Hanamura, but once you get past that first part, I think that map's okay. Past that first part. But,
see, I actually put Hanamura is my favorite. Like strategically, that's my favorite map to play. I feel like once playing that first choke point is really fun, and then throughout the rest of the stage you're just kind of like you just got to carry yourself through and maintain presence in a relative fashion, right? Like once you break through that first point, you can actually push out quite a ways away from the cart and still make a difference.
There's no cart on Hanamura.
Well, you know what I mean. Like you can get through the objective and play it. I like playing it strong around the choke point, and then being able to get through and make like. I feel like that's one where I'm more likely to go closer to their spawn than any other one.
On defense? Or
on defense.
So on defense, at the start, when I guess, yeah, because at the start you could dip out in front of the gate, spawn them, get them off the spawn a bit. Now, Adam, you haven't said anything about this. What's your go-to map, or where's the map that you feel the most comfortable on Overwatch?
I like Hollywood quite a bit. I think a lot of my favorite matches have the ones I enjoyed the most were on Hollywood with the assault. Just it seems to have the most even flow most games between the different points. Like on King's Row, it seems a lot of times the game never moves past that first choke point. Where I think Hollywood usually goes all the way through the progression before the game ends, and they usually have about the same amount of time on them, and each phase feels a lot different. Oh, I enjoy those. There's a lot of, the first part of the map, there's a lot of open space.
Capture point.
You can
goes into the.
Yeah, and then it shrinks down and gets a little tighter.
Yeah. So I think we are all kind of thinking like that open part at the beginning on those hybrid maps. The opening at the start will open up, because if it's too closed out, you're not gonna be able to win on offense at all. You're closed down in there, you're not gonna be able to move around. I know in the beta they fixed this on Temple of Anubis. The second, so Temple of Anubis is capture point.
Yeah.
Right.
So the second payload, the second one, they had to open up a wall because people would just lose on offense because there was only one gate and then one to the right.
Yeah.
I would imagine defense still wins the majority of the time on that map.
Yeah.
That's a really hard map to play offense on.
Well, even opening up that left side on it kind of really just was more like a DPS play. Like I feel like as a tank, you're less likely, or at least for me, like I hardly am ever using that side route.
Well, what you can do is you just roll your whole team through that left dark cavern there on the left.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that probably requires more communication than my quick matches have. But, you know, I think it was a really good, like, high-end play, but it's still just being on offense on that map. I played one recently, and, you kind of go into, you're like, crap, I'm offense. And, yeah. And you like, especially tank, you kind of I usually rotate between Roadhog and Winston depending on who they are because it's, do I want to pull them out of the pit or do I want to play for the ult, go for the Winston ult win, you kind of go for the all in and hope for the best. It really is like one of those ones where generally it's in the final seconds where you either win it or you just watch time tick away.
All right, so now we kind of talked about like map design. I didn't talk about this that much in my schedule, but I'm kind of like of like with Overwatch. Cody was just saying how the team aspect of the game will affect how you play every single map. Because I mean, what Cody just said was, yeah, I don't go through this one route because I know my team's terrible and they're not gonna do it because they see the middle way is the fastest way. So I'm gonna go that way.
Everybody else.
So I can. So when it comes to Overwatch, is the individuality of the game more important than the team aspect? As in, can you carry a really bad team?
I would say
how.
I want to hear what Adam has to say, the classic support player.
I think that goes back to what Jake was saying earlier about how you have to be vocal and lead, and that is the easiest way to carry a team in Overwatch is to get people talking and communicating, because you can do it with your play, like John said earlier, like you make 3 picks on Widow in a quick succession, and you can take whatever objective you need, but vocalizing things and leading is the easiest, most consistent way to carry in Overwatch. Just it's so much of a team game that you can do phenomenal in your role on your character, and it won't matter if everybody else isn't working together on the objectives.
I think that about sums it up. Unless you're like a top 500 player on Tracer in a silver match, it doesn't matter what you're doing if the rest of your team isn't doing anything with you.
I
would say top 500 Tracer would rip a new silver team's.
Even like a plat team.
even a diamond team. I would say that.
I would say though, I would kind of counter that with, compared to most games, Overwatch has way more individual outplay opportunity where you can completely change the game by yourself than most games I play. I mean, think about like the worst is just watching your team get decimated by a diva ult, and you're like, well, like, that was one person who made a really good play in a position that you couldn't outplay, even if you could outplay, you didn't either way. And, that trace or sticky grenade that just, rip your objective control. I think you may not be able to force win a game, but you can really make, kind of change the tide around certain points of the match. You can.
I think you're kind of alluding to ultimates can really change the way the game's going. And while I agree with that, that's kind of like we're in overtime at the last second. Anyone can fire off an ult and win the game. But for the consistency over the whole match and like over your whole time playing, I feel like what Adam was saying is way more important. The best way to carry is to lead the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. I think that the best way to carry is to lead the team, but I'm saying, in my opinion, in this game more than most, you can win single-handedly versus like in league, that's never gonna happen, in my opinion.
I don't like the opposite. You can solo carry in League a lot more than in
I would definitely say that too.
than in Overwatch.
For sure, got
well.
like 20 kills at League and then one.
Yeah.
But not talking about League.
Well, my point is, I feel like for me in the elos I play in, like one player can make the difference. Yikes.
I really think what Cody is trying to get to is the power of ultimates in Overwatch, and I think like every shooter, most shooters now, I feel like are gonna have some kind of ultimate ability when they come out, because that ultimate ability is so impactful and it makes the game like so crazy because that's in the game. I know that when I go into ranked and I'm playing Zenyatta, I cannot press my ult until that enemy Zarya ults. That is not allowed at all. You cannot press that button until that enemy Zarya ults. Now, is that like a problem with the game? You guys think? Do you think that bundling ults for saving your ultimate, all 6 people saving their ults for a team wipe to win the game, do you think that's an issue with the game? Because I know before they remade Mercy, the team fights were disgusting because it was like giant team wipe, then Mercy comes in, reses 5 people, and then another giant team wipe, and then the other Mercy comes in and reses 5 people.
I remember that. Yeah.
Is that just the power of the ultimate? Do you think we need to scale them down maybe and tune up channel times? Actually, I wouldn't
feel
even
like
say that. Make them less powerful.
I feel like that's part of why they reworked Mercy, because it was pretty bad for the game. Like you get a nice Zarya Hanzo combo, feel awesome. You just killed almost everyone, 5 people, and then Mercy rests them, and your team's out of ults, and they still have their ults, and it's like, oh shit, now it just feels bad. So I think in some things they do need to change, and some things they have changed. But I do feel like the game would be funner if ults were fired off more frequently, rather than waiting until 2, 3, 4 people have them to combo them. But what you said about you can't use your Zarya one until Zenyatta uses his, I feel like that's kind of like a rock paper scissors situation, and counters and stuff like that add a lot to the game. I don't think necessarily those
You
should
can't
be.
play anything other than Zenyatta versus Zarya. Straight up, it's not gonna happen.
But I mean, you can counter that with having an Ana on your team and throwing the grenade. There's counters to it. There's a lot of rock paper scissors in Overwatch.
So I know that. So I think that's a big thing and why tanks and supports are such impactful, because their alts are just in general better than a DPS ult. Now, like the big DPS ults are, soldier that gets countered by a shield, countered by a shield, or that gets countered by and a dart, and the big one, the most impactful one, is Hanzo's ult. What we're seeing now with the game meta, a lot of with the Hanzo rework, Hanzo's picked like every single game. It's like Hanzo Widow or Widow, and like these kind of just
Yeah.
Hanzo's only picked with Zarya, but Tracer and the Widow together. They have low impact alts, relatively low impact. They're picks. Vision. You think because of the impact that these alts give, that's why they have more than one tank or more than one support because of those alts, not because of their base abilities? Does that turn them into alt bots? Are you guys just there to press Q? Right?
That's Q. Q is old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Q.
I mean, for me, I think, at least in my mind as a tank, I feel like I have way more utility than being a Q bot. Between my pull and if I'm Roadhog, I can pull people in and kind of take someone out of the fight, or move people around if there's a shield that shouldn't be there. But vice versa, with Winston, you can kind of jump in and cause havoc. Throw down a shield and let your guys get in deep. I would say that generally the reason why I feel like multiple tanks get picked, not in my matches, everyone goes full board DPS for some reason, but I feel like why double tank, double support's so powerful is just the utility you get from it, right? Like there's supposed to be enablers for your DPS to do what they do best, which is kill the enemy team, right? So, for me, I don't feel that way, at least, and I think that what I lack in damage is made up for by utility, especially with the ultimates. Winston's knocking everyone around, and Roadhog being able to, same thing, just blow people back, move them from a position.
So, what do you think about with supports? You're not alting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because the majority of the support alts are just kind of ones that you save for emergency situations.
But just for other alts.
Yeah. Except for maybe like Lucio and Anna, you can use those pretty offensively. But yeah, like especially Zenyatta is like a purely defensive. Like you never pop that randomly just to try to make something happen. Like that's always okay, this is really bad. Need to pop this counter.
Yeah, it's reactive.
And that's always how that's been, and I feel like that's.
I got stuck by Tracer. Q.
I don't do that ever.
I see people do it in Overwatch League because it's like without that Zenyatta, their team's just gonna get blown through. But I mean, that's obviously a different scenario than your random pub game.
Yeah, that's worth it.
My team's gonna get blown through if I die. So.
Well, you're gonna die if you don't hit Q.
Exactly.
But no, I think the power of the alts is pretty good. I don't think they should be scaled down because then they probably wouldn't feel as impactful and as ultimate. They wouldn't really live up to their name if they scaled them down.
Yeah, and even if you
scale them up.
I mean, I don't know what that would look like.
Fun because it's like.
Then it would be totally waiting for your ults. Yeah.
Now we kind of want an arcade mode with scaled up alts.
Globals and Yada alt, I guess. Everyone.
Oh boy. Oh my gosh. The Genji with auto targeting dragon.
It combines Soldier 76's aimbot.
Oh,
the Overwatch, like in
dashing through walls.
the Storm, how Genji can every time your blade longer, so just.
Oh no.
Or give Junkrat his Heroes of the Storm alt with his side rocket.
I'm just glad we're not getting hired by Blizzard for
Game
design. Yeah, exactly.
For a limited time mode, at least.
I mean, I still think there's a lot of stuff that Blizzard has missed out on that I'm sure in the future will be put in.
What?
So, I know they kind of did like time warping with Tracer, but I think like a someone that throws a shield down that's like slow stuff go through the shield. So like
Slow projectiles and
yeah,
stuff.
but it would slow both sides, so your team side and your side.
I've definitely seen that in games.
That was it. I
Not
know
o-
the slow, the slow for at least it's for the other team is on in battle right on like Pearl. A lot of the characters they can down something, but
Or
I
like
think
Karthus W.
yeah,
Or wait, that doesn't slow down projectiles.
yeah,
Never mind.
just like slowing something down and then they come out afterwards, just so there's like counterplay against it, like move out of the way, but like give it a shorter cooldown. Something like that would be cool. Is there any mechanic that you guys would like in the game that isn't in there yet? Crazy.
There's no real like for me as a tank at least, like it's either you hook them in or you like Reinhardt smash them, go with them, but there's no like at least that I've played is like no like force push or something where you can just kind of like make people move without having to go with them or pull them into your team. I'd like to
You
see
want like a knockback?
So, like,
yeah.
Lucio
Like
knocked
a
out,
range.
Oh yeah, but like on a
like
tank,
a push,
exactly
legit,
a
like
tank.
like a back, like over, like Winston's
That would be
alt,
cool.
except as like a normal ability, or like it's like a
Yeah,
shield.
except like
It's like a
Winston
shield.
can
dash.
like knock them away. Like it doesn't have to be that far. Change his position because all the time I find you're sitting there as a tank and it's like when you're on offense at least, and you're moving into a position. You're like, oh look, they're all behind a Reinhardt shield, and they've got Diva there with her like not going to get shot by anything, aura thing, whatever the hell her right click is, and you're kind of like, well,
Defensive main.
exactly, and something that can kind of change that up. Now, obviously, playing defense, it would be annoying to set up for defense and then just have that completely torn apart by one
I mean, it's a
non-ultimate
counter.
ability. But it'd force you to kind of play.
It's not. You said it's not ranged,
Differently.
right?
No, yeah,
So they would have to get to you in the first place. Challenge itself. I mean that would be balanced. What about you, John? What are you thinking?
the one-shot wonder.
I think some other, like probably supports should have some sort of, like it's kind of in the game with Genji deflect, but like I don't know, throw down a mirror or something, and it also does reflecting.
That's what.
And then
should do.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what support
that
is.
would be cool. Yeah, she moved to damage, but I was also gonna say like there's no melee damage character. Like that's kind of what I thought Genji was gonna be when they first announced it. And I was first looking at the lineup. Like all the actual melee, like their basic attack is melee, are tanks or supports now with Bridget, or Brigitte, whatever. So I think that Doomfist is his main attack is his left click is
They're saying
like a
just someone that
shotgun
just straight
pellet
up
thing.
just punches people. Like a
No,
boss.
but punches,
doesn't
but-
he mainly shoot people with his
His left click is like the shotgun knuckle
So-
guns.
If he basically uses that to finish people. He
Yeah.
charges his fist, he jumps in combos, and that's just a feature. But I see what John wants, kind of like a Hitmonchamp.
Well, not necessarily that. I don't know, just more. I don't know. There could be like a
That could be
kind of like
cool.
a German knight pairing with Reinhardt and Bridget and this person, and they're like a melee damage dealer that pairs with them in the lore.
He just doesn't have like a or a hammer.
You know, he could be dual wielding swords or something, and I don't know. He's got a whirlwind.
Have a sword. Do we have a sword?
I mean, Genji ult, but that's
Genji.
it.
Or
Genji
There's-
like a broadsword. Sorry, like a.
You
no.
want like a barbarian character or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of mechanics that aren't in the game. I feel like that'd be,
Well,
I don't know.
a whirlwind would be pretty fun to
Just
play,
make him like a
yes.
D2 barbarian. He's got
whirlwind.
heroic leap.
Well, I
He's got a
mean,
whirlwind. He's got
Reaper's kind of
know.
has a Reaper has whirlwind. Basically.
Yeah, but I mean
In the
that's
shooter version of whirlwind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's an old. I was thinking, I don't know, just spams it. It goes through shields.
What
I
about,
don't know.
What about you, Adam? What do you think?
I can't think of any mechanics that I would really like to see, but I would like to combine Cody and John's ideas and have a melee character that has a whirlwind ability with a knockback, just knocks back everybody around him off of
Right.
whatever.
So we make
just-
General
he
Grievous
swings
with force
his
powers.
weapon around and just pushes everybody out.
Oh, man.
General Grievous confirmed.
He's got a whirlwind ability, and then just give him force powers. Force push.
I think he fits right into Blizzard lore.
Oh,
too,
I thought
so-
of one. I thought of one.
Just
Like-
give him a blazing T-Bow's longsword.
There you go. No, one that would be cool would be portals, but like portal gun portals, not like Symmetra teleports, but like, hey, we can shoot through this or put a shield up in front of it. That'd be
So
cool.
like
Like portal gun portals, yeah.
yeah, like I'm trying to think of what it's called.
I don't know. You could make it so it only goes to the other side of one
Redesigning the
wall.
map, like opening up a hole in the map.
Yeah, it changes the map, the way the map plays, the routes, and all that. So I don't know. You could have it. You put it on one side of the wall, and it only goes to the other side. You could have it portal. You shoot one here, shoot one there. However you want to do it.
So like Bard or Chronos.
Yeah,
Chronos
Bard's
is
got the thing
Chronos.
you can go.
Chronos and
You can
Smite.
walk through it. Yeah, I forget what he is off my head, but yeah, I don't know. Portals would be cool. That's a mechanic that's not really in the game.
More
That would be
portals.
cool.
I think with the remake of Symmetra, portals are definitely like untapped potential for what the game. So let's start getting into competitive game sports because that's pretty big with every single game.
Unfortunately.
Blizzard has funded the Overwatch League. I wouldn't say funded because they asked for investors. And these investors paid a pretty penny for these teams. Blizzard was asking for around $20 million per franchise spot. There's 12 teams, so that's the math.
200.
$240 million. Just for that buy-in, and I'm sure Blizzard has put in a fair amount of their money too.
I guess they put in $500 million of their own, plus 240 million.
Well,
$500 million.
Didn't they just commit to it? I don't think they've actually invested it yet. They've just committed.
I'd
to it.
imagine a large part so far. I think
Yeah,
the
well,
rest it's ongoing, and yeah.
Yeah. So what I wanted to get into kinda is the financials of that. I just think the fact that they have anyone invest $20 into this game is insane. Their plan for this must be huge. Because when this first started, Overwatch wasn't really like the game to watch. It wasn't entertaining to watch. They managed to switch it up a bit, the spectator system and like building up storylines for the teams. They did a good job of it, but at the start it was like, what? Wait, why do you need that much money again? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cheap. Like, because if it, I say international potential, and if it takes off like any other big esport, like if it takes off to like even half of what League was at its top, or actually, I don't know, maybe League's
Season
bigger
3.
now than it ever was. Was it 3 or 4? Yeah, that's what I thought. If it gets to as big as League was in 3 or 4, like that's probably all. Like they're gonna make a lot of money, a lot more money off of it than they're putting into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the investment part, right? Like you have a chance to make ROI, but you also have a chance to put 20 million plus, operating costs and lose it all. But I would say that it's just that. Like, I don't think it's too expensive. It's not too cheap. I think Blizzard asked for what they thought was reasonable based on information they needed to run the esport essentially.
Okay. I know they're paying all of their players relatively well. The base salary is set at about $50,000 with health insurance and 401k and
And
housing.
housing.
So I mean, they're not. You don't have to pay rent or anything like that. You're getting made $50K.
That
at
feeling
minimum.
when
I don't think I doubt any players are getting paid. I'm sure a lot of them are salaried around. What I heard was 80 to 120,000 a year. So
yeah. Well, most of them have two teams essentially, right? Like they've got 12 players.
yeah,
Or I guess not most teams actually. I think only 3 or 4 of them are running 12 full.
I think
people.
most are somewhere 8 to 12.
Yeah,
so
most
a lot
most
are
of
around
them-
the 10 mark.
Yeah, most of them are around the 8 to 10, I think. But
Wow.
I
mean,
they
you
had
know,
to have 12.
I was watching a couple things, and I was reading how 12 people weren't. I know London Spitfire, Los Angeles Valiant both have 12. Those are the two I know for sure, at least.
I will
Now,
look.
all of these teams, I like about Overwatch is that they don't have the team like owner as the gives it more of like
The
a
brand.
NFL. Yeah. So I know that the London Spitfire is owned by Cloud9, but they're not
Yeah.
Cloud9 Spitfire. So,
No.
but all of these teams have huge backing. Like the
The Excelsior or the Patriots, like,
Yeah. no, that's
Yeah.
the
aren't they?
Boston team. Boston teams.
Boston Uprising.
Boston
Is it?
Uprising.
I thought it was New
is-
York.
Um,
Okay,
Boston
yeah.
Uprising, because Patriots messed.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Boston
sense. Yep.
Uprising is owned by Robert Kraft, the Kraft Group. Patriots. The Houston Outlaws are Optic Gaming. They had backing. All these teams managed to get all of this financial support. So I would
Yeah.
to get insight into those back rooms and how Blizzard pitched this. Incredible, because I need to know for my sales network.
Yeah.
How do you? I'm gonna need $20 million for my game that I'm making millions of dollars already. I need your money too.
I see it though, because I mean part of it is it was application process and they had more people than they needed.
I guess
submit an
expansion teams are going to be
application.
paying 30 to the most consistent number I see is 60 million for another spot.
I'm not surprised.
That is insane. I mean, the sky is just gonna keep going up.
Oh,
And
I mean,
They had
Several of
their.
the
Sorry.
investors that bought teams like 20 million is not
Yeah,
a lot of money for them. Like, the
everything is
Kraft Group,
relative.
Billionaires, you know? Like,
No, I mean,
they own the Patriots. Like they're paying players on the Patriots more than they spent on putting together.
just sit
that
on the
team.
bench.
Yeah, they're probably the minimum salary for a bench player is probably more than their expenses for the year on the Overwatch League.
Minimum's actually 100,000 for a NFL player, but I know,
Is that all it is?
yeah, it's pretty low. But I
thought
know
it
what
was
you're
like
getting
half a
at.
million.
I think that's like practice squad and stuff, but I don't think anyone on the actual bench at a game is making that.
like 500 for
Yeah,
400 probably, but still that's nothing to scoff at.
no, I mean
Like, I was
ultimately,
just-
I can go sit
I
on the
just
bench
looked
for
at
the
the owners.
NFL. Mine, maybe 400 grand.
Like the Los Angeles Gladiators, the company that owns them, also owns Arsenal FC, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh my god!
Like,
Right, so they're loaded.
they
Loaded.
believe in
is like-
sports.
oh yeah, we can throw 20 million at that if it works out. Awesome, we'll have another sport we're established in and own a team in. If it doesn't work out, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it also part of the thing that played into it, right? Is like, all right, you've got 3 sports right now that are playing on ESPN. We're negotiating to get this on ESPN. This could be, another sport of exposure. And I mean, they were on ESPN 2 and 3.
John linked something about how Blizzard was gonna create their own ESPN of esports. That's I think he linked that to the dot esports article.
Yeah.
But it was basically saying how
I think that article is mostly about how much they're going to be making.
on
with
the
Overwatch.
there was a chart though. It was a flow chart of like revenue.
Oh yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
And one of the main things for everything's it is what they saw that Blizzard would make their own ESPN kind of, because I don't think a video game needs to be on ESPN at all. I think that people watching ESPN are gonna be like, "What the hell is what is
And
this?"
the people who watch Twitch don't watch ESPN.
Yeah, like I don't have cable. I don't need cable. I have
No,
internet.
I don't have
Why do I
cable
need
either.
cable?
Neither do
Um,
I.
I would agree with you. I wouldn't say never. I probably would not watch it. But what the interesting fact is, though, is on the semifinals they just had, they had 140,000 viewers on Twitch, and they had another 130,000 separate viewers on the Disney XD channel. So I mean, there's a platform out there.
Yeah.
That I mean,
It was
like,
on
so
TV.
yeah, you would sit like, you, me, and wouldn't watch it, but clearly somebody else is if you're matching Twitch viewers.
well,
Like as big as Twitch is, it's still relatively unknown with the general populace.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, when I've talked to friends and family about, this show, they're like, where do you do it at? Twitch? They're like, what's Twitch?
Yeah.
for pickup lady, go to the IRL section. See.
Yikes.
That's where we're at. Go to IRL.
Ooh,
Look at
lads,
the other
we're on a
channel.
campsite. Okay, let's not do this.
That's for our shirtless.
Um,
So I think that's different from ESPN. Disney XD is gonna be kids, teenagers, young adults, 22 probably, and the people that are watching it from 18 or 18 to 25 that are interested are probably gonna watch it on their computer, not unless they're sitting on their couch. That's how I've watched. What was it? What game? Heroes of the Dorm. I think on not the Ocho. And you'd hear about it on Twitter, and people would bros or they were living, not mess with their ESPN 3.
No,
Care
yeah.
a lot about what's on
the
ESPN
fuck
3.
is this video game pussy shit?
Wait, this isn't World Series poker. Are you kidding me? These nerds. These nerds.
Yeah,
I'd
Nerds.
rather watch a ping pong tournament or a
Yeah.
bowling championship.
But the game.
They
it's the
they
game.
would rather watch last year's World Series of Poker.
Yeah. World
No
Series
joke.
Classic. World Series Poker Classic. 1987. When Bill
Ah.
Rogers took down Mine Chu or whatever.
Or
I wouldn't
the
be surprised if ESPN makes some kind of like ESPN E or EESPN or something and just made an esports channel.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be hard to fit another E in there, but
Espine.
yeah, I think if ESPN was going to make another channel, I think that Blizzard would just be like, no, we'll just make our own.
Yeah, so
But-
speaking of the
Why share?
the ESPN deal, I thought it was interesting that like they managed a deal for TV while also Twitch paid 90 million for exclusive streaming rights. Like, how did they manage to get that deal to go through without ruining the Twitch deal?
Well,
I guess it's not
there's
streaming.
TV and then there's streaming.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they had an
And
equal
they're getting
audience.
their hands in both pots though, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Bank. They'll down personal card prices.
I mean, can we just get like a Twitch app for smart TVs?
They already have.
I think there is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
there
it?
is.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not most
I
of
mean,
them.
I haven't looked recently, but the times I did try to find one, I couldn't find one.
I got it on my my like Amazon TV or whatever.
Yeah, it's on.
On, like, a
you have a
Fire
Fire
Stick?
Stick? Yeah, it goes on Fire
Well,
Stick.
it's like it's built. The Fire Stick's built into the TV.
My,
Yeah.
my
Okay.
Vizio has it, and my LG.
Which I thought it was interesting that Twitch paid. I didn't know. Like I just assumed they used Twitch.
Yeah,
That they always use Twitch.
I'm sure they pitched
And
it.
I thought the all access thing was like Blizzard making money, but Twitch is probably the one making the money off all access pass.
I mean,
I'm
$90
sure it's
million.
some kind of a percentage split.
Blizzard's like, yeah, you do what you want, Twitch.
Yeah.
But you also have to remember, like, Twitch is some pretty smart people. They don't just, it's not like Blizzard walks up.
Oh
to
no,
them
it
and
was a
said,
smart investment.
Like,
Obviously.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I mean,
like,
It's a win-win mostly. If it pays off, I mean, if it dies next season, then yeah.
yeah.
if people
I mean, I want to talk about that. Where do you think?
I don't see it. I don't right now. It's only growing at this point. The finals sold out.
When I was in Orlando 3-4 weeks ago, and we were at like the different theme parks, I saw numerous times people walking around in an Overwatch League, jersey.
That's
Which
awesome.
I didn't expect.
Really?
I didn't expect at all.
Do they have a Florida team? Is there a Florida
Yeah,
team?
Florida Mayhem.
Florida Mayhem. That makes sense.
Wow, I'm about to go to Florida into Disney World. I'll have.
Gotta order a jersey in so you can fit in with the Florida
Yeah,
Mayhem.
I think my wife would.
I don't
love
think it was a
that.
Mayhem's jersey I saw when I think about it, but maybe it was. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the more mainstream it becomes, the better. I think. I don't think, I don't have that hipster approach on it where it's like, oh yeah, this game is, touching like, people that usually don't get into games are watching this. No, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. The more the merrier.
And that's just gaming in general.
Yeah.
Like the viewership's gonna adapt.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of people who are, I don't know why I'd waste my time watching a game when I could play it. I can say the same
Some
thing
of that's
about
gonna-
football.
Yeah, some of that's probably going to change over time, just as like our generation gets older and becomes more the viewing public, and the generations younger than us, because gaming's even more mainstream for people younger than us than it is even for our
Yep.
age group.
Yeah.
Everyone on my brother's Fortnite. So.
Yep.
Wow.
So when it comes to Blizzard running their okay that they have it themselves and how it's just like, this is mine, no one else can touch this. Do your compared to like CS:GO or Dota, StarCraft, where there's tournaments everywhere from different organizers, and everyone's pot. Compared to Overwatch, where it's just like it is the hive mind, everyone pay them.
I think there still is other Overwatch League tournaments, right? Like
There's the
not like big ones or
like
anything.
the Challengers Series.
But so they're trying to do, the NFL, NBA, MLB approach, and in all those, the sport owns the league, and so they're the sport, so they own the league. It makes sense with the model they're trying to do.
But it's a little bit different with them because it's not really the sport owns the league. It's like the league owns the league. Like the league only exists because they're putting stuff together. They didn't like invent football or basketball. They don't have exclusive ownership over what a football field is and how it gets played. It's really different in esports because Blizzard made the game. They made all the assets. They control the servers. They literally own everything about it, like the intellectual property and everything. So they can have way more control. And I think it's totally okay that they are trying to take as much control as they can over running the league.
What are you gonna say, Cody?
I was gonna, not to kind of circle jerk here, but I agree that, I think not only is it okay, I think it's good. It kind of helps in several areas where other sports have had to grow organically. They can kind of take the reins and the classic Windex sales.
The puppy.
But
Where's my puppy?
not only do they have kind of ownership of it, but also it keeps it from being like, well, I prefer this tournament or that, or like, all the time you kind of see these horror stories in other esports where a bunch of teams will go to a league and it's just like, or a tournament and it's a disaster. People don't get paid. Teams just get banned for no reason, or anything. Exactly. And so, one thing I like is that it keeps the competitive scene within the company. They have, make sure that there's no shady practices, anything like that. But also it allows them to truly develop the game around the competitive scene. They're not having to kind of like figure it out. They have a direct pulse on, what is and isn't working for the competitive scene, and are able to make adapt a lot quicker and just make, in my opinion, more positive changes. So I think that, just whether you are running a company or, trying to kickstart a competitive scene, the more control you have, the better it is, as long as, you're not abusing that, because people are quick to call you on your crap.
Okay, so you think that they don't really need a like a judge, I guess, or public art, because all that. Now, with what I've seen from the Overwatch League, nothing. There's been like no scandals or anything like that.
No. I mean, there's been fines
well.
and suspensions, but there's nothing been like team wide.
It's with the fines and suspensions, it's like been warranted, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's nothing shady. It's like account boosting, account sharing. Like, though people are getting upset about this code of conduct that the public hasn't seen, but all the teams are aware of. That
we don't know the details of, the Patriots players' code of conduct requirements. Why should we know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally offended, but
you're an employee. Like, why you think going off my company, I can just start shit?
I mean, if you think about it, though, like most esports players are just kids, and they are able to get away with a lot. But here, like, players are getting fined serious amounts of money for using derogatory terms while they're streaming, not even like playing it in the game, but just streaming on their personal channel. They are held to a higher standard and, more accountability, which I personally think is good. But
they signed the contract. They're getting paid to represent Overwatch League and Blizzard.
I mean, the fact of the matter, though, is there has been public backlash about it.
I think they don't want
to. There's public backlash over everything.
Yeah, but I think they don't want to whitewash everything, where everyone just like, I respect my opponent. My opponent is have a good game. Bye. Like, they want that. People want that drama. They want that.
Well, that's part of the backlash. Is there's no trash talking right now.
Watch League. Oh, such a.
I feel like
no one is like.
No one's double
There's no
lifting
Michigan State. There's no.
I feel like that's kind of like they tried to set it up like these teams are already rivals, Boston and New York. Kind of gotta let that mature. Like, you can't announce the league and say that these two teams are rivals before the teams have even been bought.
Especially when one team is just shit in the bed.
How much are they actually geographically, like, the players on the teams don't really have any
So
Go
supposedly by
geographic order,
2020,
right?
all the teams will have their home stadiums in the actual stadium names, and there will be home matches and away
Yeah,
matches,
That's
but the
and they will actually have a
players-
home audience, and they will live in that city theoretically. And
I think Adam, what you were saying though is the players
2020,
aren't
so 2 years from now they're gonna
specifically.
have that.
Right. Like I'm saying, like right now, like the players that are playing for Philadelphia aren't actually from Philadelphia, so why would they like care about playing, New York or Boston? That's might be
Exactly.
a
Like they're
geographic
Korean.
I
rivalry.
mean,
Like there's
most of the
Koreans
people
playing.
on the Yankees aren't from the city either.
Yeah. Well,
But
and
those
But
that,
the
have been
team
a
has the
long-
established culture from being in the
Exactly.
city for a while. So that was my point. It's kind of preemptive to say these teams are rivals, like before the teams were even bought.
Well, I think now with how the semifinals turned up, there will be a rivalry Boston and New York.
Yeah,
New York was the favorite. They were
Yep.
the best team and they lost to Boston.
they went
Yeah.
4
That's
stages.
like a nice
dominating.
coincidence, I feel like.
Well,
Oh, it's all
nice coincidence.
Staged.
They got wiped.
Scripted finals.
wasn't there? I think I saw a clip on Reddit of like one of the players on a losing team after the match like wouldn't shake anybody's hand or something.
I didn't see
I think
that.
I was
that?
looking at that and it said like sometimes you're just like in the zone about like that you're just like that's the last thing you're worried about. Like I just lost this
Yeah.
huge match. Do you think I don't care about shaking this? I think that's what happened. I think it was blown way out of proportion.
I feel like
Was.
the forced, like ceremonial sportsmanship handshaking is kind of weird in esports. Like it's fine in little league, but it's like the NFL they don't go shake their hands.
When I coached, I wouldn't teach the kids to take a knee when another kid got hurt. I'm like,
Oh,
not
come
gonna
on, man.
come over here. And then if a ref ever said anything, I have him knee, and I'd coach them and tell them what plays to run as they're on their knee. I'm like, he's not gonna do anything. It doesn't do anything. Taking knee doesn't do anything.
I think there's just competitive respect, and I think shaking the enemy's hand, the opponent's hand is, showing respect to the enemy and not, in my opinion, like I'm not outraged about it, but like,
it kind of seems like it's a younger thing. It's like high school and little leagues and stuff
I
like
think
that. I don't think
respect
like
is
pro sports
all
in any
ages.
sports really do
They
the
do it
handshake at
sometimes,
the end.
but mostly the people that are like upset just go away. And the
Yeah.
biggest I'm gonna go to the locker room because just lost a huge game. Like
I don't think at the end of the NBA finals, the
it's-
big Super Bowls they kind of do it because hey, we both made it to the Super Bowl. But it's like a normal game, they don't go line up and go down the line and
No, but at the end of the game, they all meet in the
They just
middle.
go to their locker room.
it's I think
Yeah,
there's
In the
it's
NFL.
It's informal in
Just-
all like the major sports. Like at the end of the game, like some people who are like friends with each other because they used to play together, or they've been in the league for a long time. Like they'll go shake each other's hands, give each other a hug, whatever. But then there's also a lot of guys that just wander off, go back to the locker room, don't
Yeah.
talk to anybody.
that's forced sportsmanship.
Yeah, and it's like
Don't
the
worry, I
average
know it's-
player, you're at home on the computer,
Yeah.
so it
Like,
just
I'm
feels
not-
weird
I
to.
just shit on this kid. I'm not gonna shake his hand.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible at Lands. So let's kind of wrap this up a bit. So the finals coming up right now is gonna be London Spitfire, Boston. Who's gonna take? Who's gonna win?
London. I say London.
That's the Cloud9 man, boy.
That's not even. That's based off of watching the games. I think
I'm just
Boston
giving you a hard time.
Uprising sneaked through New York.
I
and
think some of that momentum will be pretty huge.
No, I will say this though. I mean, just Birdring is too good at Widowmaker to let the other team win. In my opinion, it's like I just think he is going to be the play. Like if you look at it, London Spitfires got playmakers, and Boston Uprising in comparison,
They have tank players.
they've got tank players. like
So
not
what
that-
you're saying is the damage dealers are really the ones that make the plays, Cody, not the
Yes,
tanks.
win the game.
Overwatch League is
Hmm.
completely different from competitive. Throwing that out there, like
This whole video needs to be redone now.
no.
Difference between competitive and normal Warfare. Now, I treat every single game like I'm on stage. So
The grand
grand
final.
finals on stage. Maybe I have a little different aspect of it.
Cody
But-
bursts out laughing, and that's kind of the difference between the casual player and the hardcore player, you know?
I'm not. I just would even.
Uh,
What makes a hardcore player? I mean,
I mean, you're
I don't
taking
play
it
it, I
hardcore.
just-
You're
I
taking it
just
yeah,
serious. I don't know.
what makes a hardcore
That's-
player? The guy who imagines himself on the grand
That could be
I
one of
actually
the
have
reasons
crowd
that,
noise, great noise playing in the background.
Got a little
Like
soundboard.
speakers.
Oh!
There's actually
Ooh.
there's a big poster of a crowd right here. You guys can see it.
You've got your wife in the back chanting, "Go Gilly!"
She does
Got her
that.
holding a sign.
It's just like a regular Hearthstone game. Not even like a computer.
Hearthstone.
Oh man.
All right, John, who's gonna win? London or Boston?
Hmm.
I thought it was Philadelphia.
Oh shit!
Is it Boston?
Yeah, it's Fusion. No, it's Fusion. Philadelphia.
Oh my
Fusion
God.
won.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
They're right next to
Yikes.
each other. Right
Yeah.
next to each other.
Oh,
Philadelphia.
I forgot. But I think Carp might
I've been
be
saying
able
that the whole
to.
time. Shit.
Yeah, I think Carp might be able to 1v1 the bird.
Hey, that's what I was gonna say when we got to.
Feels bad, sorry.
Yeah, I will be rooting for Philadelphia, and I think that Carb could carry them, and I'm also kind of rooting for Philadelphia because even though I think the location thing doesn't matter, I would like the American city to win.
Yeah. I think Carp's my
Turncoat.
favorite player.
Vote.
Ah man, come on.
I find it interesting that they're both Atlantic Division teams. I don't
Yeah.
really know
Atlantic.
how much the divisions mean, but no, I think probably Philadelphia, just because if they were good enough to beat the Excelsior, they're probably gonna win.
I want the Shanghai Dragons to win.
Yikes.
0-40.
Oh, 40.
Yikes.
Oh my god.
I was like, when I saw that, I was like, is that a typo? Because I haven't watched like the whole league by any means.
Well, I
Like,
mean, they
I'll
had the
turn it
whole-
on every now and then, but
They had the coaching scandal with like
So is this the first esport where the Asian teams don't dominate?
For now, this is
I
the
mean,
first, it's usually like this the
yeah.
first year, and then
Yes.
there's a lot of Asians
then
on
they start
the good
cranking.
teams.
Then they start cranking.
yeah.
away.
Even
Once they realize it's a big scene with money, everyone. Oh, here we go.
Oh, playing Overwatch.
well, I mean, you
Where are
also
you?
have to remember like a bunch of the teams the first season instantly bought Korean players. So
Oh yeah, there's 2 Koreans on every.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you guys know how they did the teams? Was it just everyone shot out offers, or was there a draft, or I don't remember.
no, I mean like
no.
so I know London Spitfire bought 2 separate teams to make their team. Like they bought BC something and then they bought like C9 Kongdu to build their teams. I think, there was not a draft. It was you put off
We just bought out
offers in
already
from
Overwatch
existing-
teams.
because there was already like an Overwatch competitive scene, and so they just kind of picked players from the existing teams.
Yeah, I mean, if
once
you're like
they found out.
you're one of the like richest investors, just fire out
Kid-
the biggest offers
Kid,
to
you want
the best
200
players.
grand
Yeah.
on my
Well, what's
on the
interesting is
Shanghai Dragons? Sure. Oh shit.
players actually took less pay to go on teams that they wanted to be on.
Well, that was probably because certain players were already on those teams, type thing, and they're like, "Yeah, this team looks like a win."
So I just thought it was interesting that
have-
it wasn't just like highest bidder.
Well,
wins.
I think you have a better chance for a team to be consistent and stay with the roster if they're better. So let's say I get an offer from a bad team and a good team, and the bad team's offering me 30% more. But I know with the good team that I'm gonna win. They're like, we're winning. Why would we replace anything, right? Why would we don't fix what isn't broken? While the bad team's like, all right, this obviously isn't working. People are getting benched. People are getting cut. People are getting traded. Like risk versus reward is kind of offset there.
Well, after the I don't remember when the cutoff date was, but I mean, you're locked in with your team, so even if you drop a player, like they're the window, they have a window.
They got the cutoff
how,
date.
How long are their contracts? Sure.
They 1 year. It started out as 1 year.
Contracts. You know, hey, I joined this good team. I'm look good. Year from now when I get free agent.
I think some of them might have been longer than 1 year, but I know like at least a lot of them were one. You know, because they had no
I know
idea.
that after this year contract is done, the whole Shanghai Dragons team is gonna be mixed up. You might see one player left. Like they're gone. I was reading an article on them and like they had like player ratings or whatever, and like all their players are bottom of their roles and ratings started at the start.
Well, it's like if your team is 0-40, like obviously you're gonna have shit stats. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like goes hand in hand, and like the New York Excelsior probably has the highest average player ratings because they're winning the most games. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to judge.
That would feel so bad to go through 4 stages of playing
Losing.
really good. Well, no, I mean, if you're the Excelsius, like, oh, okay, yeah, if you're Shanghai, like, you know, not winning a single game over the course of 6 months would be shit. But also, if you're the Excelsius and you play 6 months of consistently good Overwatch, and then in the playoffs you just bomb, and you're not going to the finals of the first year, like. It would feel bad.
happens in every sport, though.
I know. I'm not okay. I'm not saying like. Can you guys believe it? This is the first time in any sport, but I mean, it still sucks, especially in the inaugural season.
They'll have a on their shoulder next season. I wonder how their break works.
It's a 3-month break from August. The end of August is their last. At the end of August they do the All-Star League, and then December, like 6th to the 9th, if they keep the same schedule as last year's when they start preseason.
All right, it's not bad.
Cool.
Now, John, who did you say who's going?
I was going with Philadelphia.
Philly.
What's your prediction?
Adam's going with Philly. I'm going with Philly.
Yikes.
I wanted to go with my boys
underdog.
C9, but
They're
it was
underdog.
like underdog story, beat the Excelsior. Like Excelsior was like untouchable. You beat them, you can beat anyone.
Yeah, they beat the best team in the league.
And they also got, was it Sato back or whatever? Fusion, didn't it? And he had like a 30-game suspension, and they stuck with him for that 30 games and brought
They
him
don't
back.
have a
And,
choice.
and him and Carp were good. Well, the suspension was before the window, so they could have dropped him, but they held
What
on
was
to
he
him.
suspended for?
He was
What
just
do you do?
crap. I think his was I think he boosted back in, I don't remember. Was it back in Korea? But before he joined the team, he did account boosting.
He
And
boosted.
so, yep. And like, you know, in Korea, that's worse than trolling a game. Like that is the ultimate sin. So he had to come over here to play on the team, and you know, they held him for the 30 years. But him and Carp are just going off now as a duo. Like they're way too strong. So, well, I mean, for me, I'm not even actually. I'm taking it to heart. Like, I'm not really sticking to the Cloud9 fanboy, especially what they did to my boy Sneaky. And
No,
you know,
completely different
Ruined his
game.
streak.
that's what I'm saying. Like, different game. You're not gonna tilt me, Cloud9. I just think that ultimately, they're both 5th and 6th seeds. I just think London might play a better game.
I like seeds. I like games like this where it's just like these guys both.
I think
are
it's kind of
hard to
crazy
go
that
there.
5 and 6
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
in the finals.
Yeah. Usually you see at least one top team. No. All right. Well, that's with all of our predictions. I think we're in.
Oh, and so Spitfire has the smallest roster. They've only got
Right.
8.
I think big rosters.
Or no, they have 7. They have 7. They only have 1 sub.
Oh wow, they dropped a ton of players when they first introduced.
It's a waste of money. Why?
Yeah.
I mean, 200 grand. You did a 20 million buy-in. The bonuses for each season are bigger than that. Like
I
than
mean,
the salaries.
if
Yeah,
you're
it's like
just
four-
throwing around money like that, why you're not going to be rich for long? You're paying.
It's
some
like you
dudes
throwing
that
around
sit on the
change,
bench.
Jake.
Yeah. Like
And
you're
it's like the
throwing-
bonuses for each season winning is like more than the player salary.
It's
Well, if-
one.
a lower team, like a lower player team, wins more than a high, teams with more players, then you can do. Why have a giant roster?
Yeah,
I mean, there's
Why
pros and
have
cons to each.
a roster?
The smaller team is more close knit. They've practiced together
Right.
more, but the higher player team, you can have more specializations and you can sub them out depending on who you're playing against and playing a different team comp and et cetera, et cetera.
What do you guys think of that? Sizes.
I would say smaller the better.
Yeah, personally, I also like smaller.
I think that there's a limited degree of specializations you could really play with. So, having a smaller roster with more team camaraderie and that has more experience playing together is probably more valuable than having somebody you could sub in to try to counter someone else. 'Cause I don't think the range of specializations is really that big or that significant that you really can counter other players.
Like
and other
Tracer,
teams.
Widow, and Hanzo.
Yeah, I think though what you do get is if someone's having like a tough time or like
Yeah.
might be in a rut, you can swap them out.
It's not necessarily specializations, but a full 12, you can do full scrims against yourself.
Yeah.
And
You really get to know them playing against them as well as
Yeah.
with them. And, if people are having an off day, and you only got one sub and, he's not necessarily the best at whatever that one role is that's having the off day, it's like, well, you got to stick with it, But if you got multiple
Yeah.
subs that can do whatever role is having the off day or sick
Yeah.
or injured or whatever,
Yeah, I think though, sticking to my small player thing, like I do think you're making a commitment to the players that you believe in them, that, while there is benefit to putting the pressure on, like, hey, if you don't perform, we're going to have someone else. I think that, at the end of the day, you're there to get the best out of an individual player. And that's not always achieved by putting pressure on them that you're going to sub them out. And it also kind of creates like the star power by you kind of know a team when they go into the match.
All right. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Another 90-minute episode.
most podcasts seem to be like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
We're doing all right. We're not going over 90 minutes. Any final thoughts on Overwatch? Are you guys gonna be playing it more? Guys, I don't think any of us are gonna be playing it. I think there's one game we all have our eyes set on right now.
I might play some before the expansion. With the final hype.
Mhm.
I almost know like everything I want to do before the expansion.
I'm for me, I like watching it more than playing it, honestly, just because it is like there's a certain
have
level of
all the
intensity. to
casting talent.
I know.
They got good casters.
Poached. They acquired some great people and put together a great team.
Yep. Adam? Thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to the finals. I'll probably watch. And
You gonna watch them on Disney XD?
Yeah, watch my NXT. I probably won't play Overwatch significantly more than I have been recently, but I am interested to see where it goes. I think it's a great
Mhm.
game. It's just not a lot of people that I play with are playing it on a regular basis right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I play a couple games a week probably on average,
Yeah.
but you know,
get mad after a game.
trying to be reformed.
no,
Probably
you,
playing
not you.
Witchcraft.
You don't get mad.
My team
No.
just gets bad. I don't get mad.
Oh my
Get
gosh.
bad.
Reform the 12 stages.
I'm a
He's
support player. I'm a Overwatch support player. I'm a good person. Actually, the best thing about support is you can blame people and no one's gonna do anything about it because you're playing support. So counteracts and
They're
balances.
like, well, he picked Zenyatta. I didn't want to.
Oh, I guess he could be a dick because I get to play Widowmaker. Though he's talking crap about how much I'm bad at Widowmaker. Anyway,
reformed, maybe.
we will be back next week at 9 o'clock EST. You can follow us on Twitter. You can join our Discord below. They're there. I made those.
Woo!
I'll post any updates on that. Next week, we don't have a title yet. I don't know what we're gonna do next week, but I'll figure it out and it's gonna be good. So we'll see you guys then.
See you next
Yes.
week.